Imagine for a moment that you already have everything you've ever wanted in life. The home of your dreams, the freedom to travel wherever and whenever you please, complete autonomy to do whatever you desire, and most importantly, no concerns whatsoever about money. Now tell me, what exactly is stopping you from reaching that point? Is it a lack of opportunities? Or is it fear, the fear of taking a risk? What else do you need to take that very first step towards your financial freedom? Let me share something with you that may come across as bold. The key to becoming wealthy does not lie in a single stream of income, but in having multiple ones. And before you dismiss this as extreme or unrealistic, allow me to show you how this mindset can truly transform your life, just as it transformed mine. Here's a straightforward question. Have you ever stopped to consider the danger of depending on just one source of income? Perhaps you work for a company, or you run your own business, or maybe you rely on what you believe is a stable revenue stream. But what would happen if that stream were to disappear? I understand that this is a troubling thought for many. It's easy to settle into the comfort of believing that what you currently have is enough. But I want to challenge you to think deeply. What would happen if you lost your only source of income? This isn't about asking if something will happen, but when. I'm not suggesting you should be pessimistic or anxious. Not at all. What I'm saying is that life is unpredictable, and true financial security only becomes a reality when you have more than one way to earn money. The only real path to freedom is by establishing multiple income sources. Let me tell you about a personal experience that completely shifted the way I see money. For many years, I relied solely on one revenue stream, giving lectures and seminars. I truly enjoyed sharing what I had learned and helping thousands of people. But there was a major limitation. Everything hinged on that one stream. When the opportunity came to expand, I knew I had to act. That's when I began building additional sources of income. I wrote books, launched coaching programs, created online courses, and invested in property. I was no longer dependent on one income stream. I was developing a financial ecosystem. When one stream dipped, another would rise. That gave me a sense of security I never thought possible. It was no longer about hoping one income would be sufficient. I knew that abundance was within reach, and the more sources I had, the more I was safeguarding my future. Let me give you a real example of how not having multiple income sources can be a critical mistake. You may have heard of people who were once incredibly famous and wealthy, but later went bankrupt due to a string of poor decisions. Let's talk about someone well known in the entertainment and sports world, Mike Tyson, the legendary boxer. Mike was once one of the highest paid athletes in the world, but he lost all his fortune. Why? Because he didn't diversify his sources of income. He believed his boxing earnings would be enough, but when his career declined, he had no backup plan. And he's not alone. There are countless others who were at their peak and fell because they failed to build alternative income streams. The first step you need to take is to change the way you think. Money is energy. Now, let's put this into context. It is estimated that Mike Tyson earned more than $300 million in his career. If we convert that to approximate values in British pounds today, that would be around £239 million sterling written in full, £239 million sterling. Despite having such an immense fortune, he lost everything because he didn't create a diverse financial foundation. That's the kind of mistake you must avoid. The best time to think differently is now. Don't place all your hopes in one basket. Begin building your financial resilience today. Because your financial freedom won't come from waiting, it will come from action. When you truly understand this, you begin to see that opportunities are all around you. It's not about endlessly searching for side jobs or working 16 hours a day. It's about using your intelligence and your resources to create something that works for you. Do you remember when I said I had written a book? That wasn't just to share what I knew, it was to create a stream of income that would continuously support me. And what could you do? Are there not areas in which you could invest? Why not start learning about investment? Whether it's in property, shares, or even cryptocurrencies, all of these are ways to ensure your money works for you even while you sleep. You have skills, talents, and knowledge that can be transformed into sources of income. Why not invest in yourself? Why not start a small online business, or teach something you already master? Don't worry if you don't have experience yet, you can begin with a simple idea, as long as it carries a meaningful and clear purpose. Now, let me ask you a question. What are you waiting for? Are you waiting for opportunities to appear? They are already there. The problem might be that you've not yet learned how to see them. I want you to reflect on this, because the longer you delay the decision, the more you hand over control of your life to chance. And you certainly don't want chance to dictate your financial future. You're probably thinking, but I'm already very busy. The truth is, we all are. But once you understand the value of having multiple income streams, you'll realize that the effort you put in now will pay off in the long run. You'll have more freedom, more security, and more control over your life. I want to begin this message with a direct question. Have you ever stopped to consider what you truly believe about money? The way you think about money and what you believe is possible for yourself will determine your financial success more than anything else. I know this because I've gone through it myself. I wasn't born wealthy, nor did I have vast resources. I started like most people, with a limited mindset, believing that the only path to success was through hard physical work and good formal education. But that way of thinking only took me so far. It was when I began to question my beliefs that I realized I had trapped myself inside a cycle of limitations of my own making. I remember a particular moment clearly. I was doing consulting work for a client who wanted to grow his company. He was stuck in the traditional model of work, thinking that the only way to earn more money was to hire more staff and work longer hours. He believed more work was the only solution. But what if I told you that you could multiply your income without doubling your workload? The secret is in the mindset shift. Once he started believing that he could create multiple sources of income without needing to work twice as hard, his financial life began to change. He started investing in new income streams and became open to new possibilities. And this wasn't luck, it was a direct result of changing how he thought. So now, ask yourself this: what do you believe is possible for you? If you believe you can have several income streams, if you believe that money is abundant and available, then that will become your reality. Let me give you a few real-world examples, with approximate conversions to British pounds sterling, and all numbers written out in full. Let's say the book I wrote generates a monthly income of about $200. That would be roughly £158 written out as £158. If you were to invest in a property worth $50,000, that would be around £39,500 written as £39,500. If that property provided a monthly rental income of $400, that would be equivalent to approximately £315 written as £315. If you invested $100 in cryptocurrency, that would be around £79 written as £79. And as for Bible references, for example, Jude chapter 1, verse 9, it should be written as chapter 1, verse 9 entirely in words, not numerals. Everything starts with your beliefs. The way you think shapes your reality. If you believe in abundance and in your own potential to build streams of income, that belief will lay the foundation for a transformed financial future. Now, if you believe that money is scarce and difficult to obtain, then that is exactly the world you will live in. What do you choose to believe? It doesn't matter where you've come from or what you've been through. What truly matters is what you choose to believe today. And speaking of belief, I'd like to share an example that might resonate with you. Let's talk about Oprah Winfrey, a woman who came from an incredibly difficult childhood, with no financial resources and no support. If she had believed that her circumstances at birth would define her future, she would never have achieved the success she enjoys today. Oprah believed that she could create a different life for herself, and that belief is what took her to the top. She changed her mindset, and by doing so, she completely transformed her reality. When you start to believe that you are worthy of more, that money exists in abundance, and that you can become financially free, something magical begins to happen. The energy shifts. The universe begins to respond to your new thoughts and behaviors. When you change internally, the world around you starts to change too. I know that shifting your mindset isn't always easy, and that fear and doubt can often creep in. But let me give you a key piece of advice: fear is simply the absence of trust in your own ability. You already have everything you need within you to succeed, but you must believe it first. I know it might sound simple, but the truth is that real change begins with a small step inside your mind. Let me share another story that left a lasting impression on me. Once, there was a young man who worked in an ordinary job. He earned just enough to get by, but never imagined he could be financially free. He believed that money was out of his reach. When I spoke to him about the importance of having multiple streams of income and changing his mindset about money, he was skeptical at first. But over time, he began to apply what he had learned. He changed his way of thinking, and started to create new ways of making money. He began investing, launching small projects, and exploring new income sources. Today, he is financially free, and what changed wasn't his external situation, but his internal mindset. Now I want to talk about something that many people find complicated, but which is actually one of the most important steps towards financial freedom: passive income. When we speak of financial freedom, we're talking about the ability to earn money intelligently, without needing to be actively involved all the time. And this, my friend, is where passive income comes into play. I know that many people think this is something only very wealthy individuals can achieve, but I want to show you that that's not the case. Passive income can begin with something simple, something within your reach. The key is to understand that, in order to achieve true financial freedom, you need to build sources of income that don't rely on your constant physical presence. Let's talk about investments. When you invest, whether it's in property, shares, or even small businesses, you create a flow of money that works for you, without needing to do much more than manage the investment. And I can assure you of one thing: when you begin to invest, you are planting the seeds of your financial future. Even if you start with a small amount, let's say around £30, which is roughly equivalent to 180 Brazilian reals, the amount isn't what matters most. What matters is that you begin. You don't need to wait until you have millions. Start with what you have now, believe in yourself, and watch how the world around you begins to transform. The more sources of passive income you have, the more stable and comfortable your financial life will become. Have you ever stopped to think about what could be a source of passive income for you? I know many people fear the idea of investing, whether due to a lack of knowledge or a fear of losing money. I completely understand that fear, because I too was once in that position, not knowing where to begin. But the truth is, the more you educate yourself and make informed decisions, the safer and clearer your path becomes. I still remember the first time I invested in property. I was nervous, but I knew I was doing something important. I started small, and over time, real estate became one of my most stable sources of passive income. What about you? What are you doing to create your own passive income? Have you been preparing for it? Of course, building passive income doesn't happen overnight, but it's entirely achievable. I always say the key is taking the first step. Whether that means investing in shares, creating an online course, writing a book, or even starting a small online shop, the important thing is not to wait for the perfect moment, but to start with what you already have. I know many people think, but I don't have enough capital to invest. And here's what I want to tell you: something very important that you need to take in. The secret isn't in how much you have, but in what you do with what you've got. Your first investment doesn't need to be big. Start small, but start now. With time, you'll realize that the power of passive income lies in consistency and strategy. Let me give you a clear example of how this can change your life. One of the greatest financial success stories I know is that of Warren Buffett. He began investing at a young age and did so consistently. It wasn't the size of his initial investments that made the difference, but his strategy and persistence. He knew that by investing wisely, his money would start working for him. And that's exactly what you need to understand: money doesn't have to be something you constantly chase. Once you start creating streams of passive income, the money begins to flow in without you needing to work more hours. You might be wondering now, but how do I know where to invest? The truth is, there isn't one answer that fits everyone. But there are principles that apply broadly. First, start learning about the options that align with your interests. Investing is about learning, and it's completely fine to start with something simple, like understanding property or the stock market. What matters is educating yourself and taking that first step. I did that myself, and no, it wasn't easy. But once you start, things begin to change. Now I want you to ask yourself an important question. What can you start doing today to build your own passive income? Remember, money doesn't have to be something you constantly run after. It can start coming to you if you know how to pave the way properly. So here's my challenge to you: take one simple action today. Choose one small way to invest or create a passive income stream. It could be something as simple as starting to learn about investing, or opening a small online store. The important thing is to begin. When you take that first step, you're already starting to build the financial future you've always dreamed of. I know what you might be thinking now. Maybe you've tried other things before and failed. Maybe you even lost some money. But those experiences aren't the end, they're lessons that help you find a better way forward. And if you're wondering how much money you need to start, know that you could begin with around £20 per month. That's approximately £240 per year. It's not about the amount you have, it's about what you do with it, and whether you're willing to start and keep going. Perhaps you're afraid that if you take a risk, you might lose everything. I completely understand that feeling. I've been in your shoes. I remember what it felt like to be standing on the edge, about to step into the unknown. But over the years, I've learned that fear is just a feeling, it's not real. It's something our minds create, fueled by doubt and uncertainty. When you begin to take action despite fear, that's when you truly start to break free from it. Let me share a personal story with you. I was at the very beginning of my career, trying to build something of my own. I knew there was a huge opportunity to change my life, but like any normal person, I was scared of failing. When I made the decision to invest in property, I was nervous. I didn't know much about the market, and the risk felt overwhelming. I thought I could lose everything. I had two choices: follow my instinct and move forward, or let fear stop me completely. At that moment, I remembered something I always used to tell my students: fear is the evidence that you're stepping out of your comfort zone, and that's exactly where the magic happens. So, I chose to move forward. And I can tell you now with complete confidence, that first investment changed my financial life entirely. It was the decision to take action, even while I was afraid, that opened the doors to new opportunities. I know what you might be thinking now, but what if I fail? What if the fear is real this time? I understand that thought completely, but here's the truth you need to take to heart: failure is not the end. Failure is learning. Many of the most successful people in the world failed long before they succeeded. The key is not in avoiding failure, it's in learning from it and continuing. You don't fail until you stop trying. Failure only becomes permanent when you give up. Let's take a look at the story of Thomas Edison, one of the greatest inventors in history. He failed more than 1,000 times before he finally invented the light bulb. If he had let fear stop him, the world today would look very different. He didn't see his failures as mistakes, he saw them as lessons in discovering what didn't work. And that's what led him to success. I also know many people are afraid of losing money. That fear is completely valid. But it's important to remember, money can be earned again, time cannot. Don't let the idea of, if I get it wrong, it's over, paralyze you. The money you invest is not a true loss if you learn something from it. You will discover smarter, safer ways to invest, and every step you take will make you wiser. Failure is not permanent, but standing still might be. Now, take a moment to reflect. What is the biggest fear stopping you from taking your next financial step? Is it the fear of losing money? Or the fear of not being good enough? The truth is, fear is often just opportunity in disguise. Every time you take action despite fear, you strengthen your confidence and your ability to move forward. And as you begin to see the results of your efforts, the fear will begin to fade. Here's what I want you to do now: identify one area where you feel fear, something that's stopping your financial progress. It could be fear of investing, fear of starting a business, or even fear of asking for a promotion. Recognize it and face it. Because courage isn't the absence of fear, it's choosing to act even when fear is present. When I made my first investment, it was around $100,000 which at today's rate equals roughly £79,000 sterling or £79,000 British pounds star. At the time, that was a huge amount for me, but the lessons I learned and the changes it brought to my life were worth far more. That decision reshaped not only my finances, but also the way I think, act, and believe in myself. Take the first step now, even if it's a small one. Don't wait for fear to disappear completely, because it won't. What will disappear is the paralysis you feel in the face of it. I know that many people believe that financial success comes solely from working hard at a single source of income, and that as long as you have money, everything else will sort itself out. But let me share an important truth with you: the relationship you have with money, and the different income streams you build, have a profound effect on your peace of mind, your emotional well-being, and your personal balance. When you start to create multiple income sources, you begin to experience a sense of freedom that you may never have imagined was possible. I am living proof of this. I remember when I first started investing. I was like many of you. I had a steady job, life felt fairly comfortable, but there was always a sense that something was missing. It wasn't just about the money. It was about having the freedom to make decisions without fearing the unexpected. And as I began to diversify my income, I discovered something that changed my life forever. It wasn't just about how much I earned, it was about how I felt regarding my ability to support myself. Having more than one income source gave me a sense of emotional calm that allowed me to live without the constant stress that so many people feel due to financial insecurity. When you have multiple sources of income, something remarkable happens. You begin to feel safer, and the anxiety that comes from financial instability begins to fade. You're no longer trapped by the thought that if something goes wrong in one area, everything will collapse. If one stream fails, another is there to support you. And that knowledge is truly transformative. I know many of you might be thinking, but I'm already overwhelmed with what I have. How can I possibly add more sources of income? I completely understand that feeling. The idea of starting something new can be intimidating. But the key is to start small and smart. You don't need to add everything all at once. It can be something as simple as a small investment or a side project that you can manage flexibly. The important thing is to realize that every new income stream you build is a chance to strengthen your financial and emotional stability. Let me share a real-life example to make this clearer. One of my close friends, a successful entrepreneur, shared his story with me. He started with a small business, but constantly lived with the fear that if it failed, he would lose everything. That fear was so intense, it impacted his quality of life. He couldn't relax, he couldn't enjoy his successes, because the pressure was always there. Then he began to diversify his income streams, and everything changed. He started investing in property and creating online programs. And what's more, the shift didn't just improve his financial situation, it also transformed his mental health. He began to feel a sense of inner peace he had never known before. When one business wasn't doing well, he didn't panic, because he knew he had other income sources working for him. He moved from being controlled by financial pressure to being in control. When he began investing, he started with a small amount of around $1,000, which is approximately £790 sterling, written as £790 sterling. His first side project brought in around $500 per month, which is about £395 sterling, written as £395 sterling. These numbers might seem modest at first, but they made a huge difference to his sense of security, and they marked the beginning of his journey towards financial freedom and inner peace. Let me ask you this: how many of you truly have peace of mind today? How many of you feel vulnerable, worried about what might happen if one of your sources of income were to disappear? Now, imagine for a moment, what would your life be like if you had more than one stream of income? How different would things feel if you knew you were financially secure, no matter what happened? That is the true power of having multiple sources of income. It's not just about having more money. It's about having the freedom to live the life you've always wanted, without the constant weight of financial stress pressing down on you. When you have more than one income stream, you begin to realize what truly matters: more time for the things you love, more freedom to choose how you spend your days, and most importantly, more control over your own life. Now think about your current situation. If you had 1 or 2 additional income streams beyond your main job, how would that make you feel? How would your mental and emotional well-being change? Not just in financial terms, but deep within yourself. I can assure you, that sense of freedom will positively impact every single area of your life. The truth is, life doesn't need to be a constant struggle. When you have multiple income streams, you gain the ability to live with greater ease and tranquility. The fear and anxiety that often come with financial hardship begin to fade, and you start to realize that a more balanced, happier, and more empowered life is absolutely possible. Now ask yourself, what are you doing to achieve that emotional and financial freedom? What could you start doing today to build a new income stream? The effect it will have on your quality of life will be profound, and the peace of mind you'll gain is something that simply can't be bought. My name is Bob Proctor, and I can tell you with certainty, having multiple sources of income doesn't just transform your financial situation, it transforms your entire quality of life. Start today. The impact will be far greater than you imagine. Multiple income streams aren't just about earning more money, they're about gaining more freedom and emotional security. When you begin creating those streams, you're not just strengthening your financial foundation, you're reshaping your lifestyle, your peace of mind, and your ability to live with true confidence. Remember, the key is to take the first step, even if it's a small one. As you grow and learn, your financial security will expand in ways you never thought possible. Now, if you felt inspired by what you've just heard, know that the next step is on its way. A new video will soon appear on your screen, and it will be your chance to take the next step on your path of wisdom and growth. We are always striving to be 1% better every day, and I'll see you in the next video so we can continue this journey together. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you soon.